Okay, so AI this and cybersecurity that, right? Like it's everywhere you look these days.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you sent over a whole stack of articles on AI threat detection, and
That's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot to unpack. I mean, we've got pieces here that dive deep into like the technical stuff, real world examples, even a few that kind of make you think about like the downsides.
Hmm.
But, by the end of this deep dive, I think everybody listening is really going to not just understand how this is changing the game in
All
cybersecurity,
right.
but also like why it matters to them.
Yeah,
Even if
absolutely.
you're, not a tech expert at all.
It touches every part of our lives, I think,
Yeah.
even if we don't always realize it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to start, let's just, paint a picture here.
Okay.
So imagine this, right? Like a security guard who
Hmm.
never sleeps can analyze just mountains of data in the blink of an eye and learns from every single attack.
Yeah.
That's kind of AI threat detection in a nutshell.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's such a big difference from the old way of thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember those old antivirus programs?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like matching fingerprints. They're looking for known bad guys. But what happens when a new threat comes out? One that's never been seen.
So it's like trying to catch a chameleon that keeps changing colors.
That is a great analogy, yeah. Because traditional security systems they can't keep up.
Right.
But AI can, thrive in that kind of environment.
Okay.
So AI is looking through network traffic, user behavior,
Uh-huh.
all sorts of data, and just flags things that seem weird.
Okay.
It's not just looking for one specific bad actor. It's like noticing that something's not right.
Got it. So that makes sense. But like, how much faster are we talking? Because, I mean, in the cybersecurity world, seconds count,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
One company, Sequoia.io, they're using AI to analyze threats, as they happen in real time.
Wow.
Think about that, cutting down response times from days to minutes.
Yeah.
And that speed is just so crucial when you're thinking about something like ransomware, that could take down your whole network.
Yeah. I mean, that is a serious time advantage for sure. Okay, so we've kind of established that AI is a game changer. Like, it's really shaking things up.
Yeah.
But let's get specific here. Where is this actually being used? Like, what are some
Well,
examples?
one of the, I think, most obvious uses is intrusion detection.
Uh-huh.
So you've got all this data flowing through a network, tons of devices, users accessing stuff.
Right.
AI is like that superpowered detective
Okay.
that's going through it all and looking for any kind of unusual pattern that might mean there's an attack.
So, like, if, let's say, somebody suddenly starts downloading, I don't know, gigabytes of data at 3 in the morning.
Exactly.
Mm.
Or maybe there's a ton of traffic from a
Yeah.
place that seems weird, or an employee's account, starts doing things that it doesn't normally do.
Right, right.
AI can see those red flags and tell the security teams right away.
That makes sense. Okay, what about malware? That just feels like a whole other beast.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, think of AI like it's doing a digital autopsy on this malware. So instead of a scalpel, it's using algorithms, right? Dissecting that code,
Yeah.
figuring out how it works, and then using what it learns to strengthen defenses and countermeasures.
So it's not just stopping the current attack, it's like using it to prevent future ones.
Exactly. It's like
What?
AI is building up this constantly evolving defense, from what it sees out in the wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got phishing, which is still a huge problem.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing how sophisticated AI is getting at figuring out if an email is a phishing attempt.
Yeah, I was reading about that. It goes way beyond just, looking for certain words or like a suspicious link, right?
You can, analyze what the sender's doing, if the links are even real, and even the whole context of the message.
Wow.
All those things help AI figure out if this email is a scam.
It's like it's developed a sixth sense for spotting those malicious emails.
So what about those really big areas, though, like cloud security or the Internet of Things? I feel like AI is almost a necessity there, isn't it? It is, yeah. I mean, with so many cloud platforms and connected devices, the amount of data is just overwhelming.
Right.
It's a nightmare for, traditional security to try to manage. That's why you're seeing stuff like, CNAPPs, those cloud-native application protection platforms, which really need AI to work.
Okay, so it really sounds like AI is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
It is.
But I'm kind of curious, under the hood, how does all this magic actually work?
Well, there are a couple of main approaches that, your articles talk about. First is supervised learning.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of like, training a dog. You give the AI a ton of labeled data, right? Examples of good and bad behavior, so it learns the difference.
So it's learning from past attacks to predict future ones.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's unsupervised learning, which is more like letting the AI loose in this huge data playground and seeing what it finds on its own.
Okay.
So it's going through the data without, someone telling it what's what. Looking for those patterns and things that just stand out,
Yeah.
that could mean there's a threat.
So it's like an AI detective kind of sniffing out clues that we humans might miss.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's deep learning, which uses these artificial neural networks and they, kind of copy how our brains work.
Oh,
They
wow.
can go through incredibly complex data and find these hidden red flags that the older systems might completely miss.
So it's almost like it's developing its own, like, intuition for threat detection.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
But I guess that kind of makes me wonder, doesn't that also create kind of a black box situation? Like, we don't really know what's happening inside.
That's a great point, and a lot of your sources talk about that. This idea of explainability is becoming really important.
Uh-huh.
So if AI is, saying something's a threat, we have to understand why.
Right.
We can't just blindly trust a machine, no matter how smart it seems.
That makes sense. It's like, even if your AI detective points to a suspect, you still need to understand the evidence, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the human element, is so important
Right.
because even with all this incredible tech, we still need, skilled people to make sense of it all.
So AI isn't like a silver bullet. We can't just set it and forget it.
No, not at all. It's more like a, superpowered assistant
Okay.
working alongside human security experts.
Got it.
Those experts are still the ones making the calls, figuring things out, and, even making sure the AI is trained the right way. It's a partnership.
And probably a pretty complex one, I would imagine, especially since, I mean, the bad guys, they're not just sitting around doing nothing, right?
Oh, no, they're always trying to get ahead of security, including anything using AI.
Right.
Your articles mention adversarial AI,
Yeah.
which is basically them trying to trick the AI.
It's kind of like those spammers that are always trying to disguise their emails, so they get through the filters.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're always looking for those weak points, trying to use them. This whole field is like this back and forth game. It's constantly changing.
Wow. So we've covered a lot already, from the basics of AI threat detection to this like constant arms race.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I'm really curious about what's coming next. What does the future of AI threat detection even look like?
Well, one thing that's, getting a lot of attention is those large language models like ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Those are like the super smart chatbots, right?
In a way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what they could do for cybersecurity goes way beyond just talking.
Okay.
Imagine, an AI that can actually understand what an email or a chat message really means.
So it's not just looking for keywords, it's looking at like the nuances of how we talk.
Yeah, exactly. That's where things get really interesting. These models can look at the context, the tone, even those subtle little cues that we use to show emotion, and use that to find threats we might miss.
Wow.
It's still early, but it's a really exciting area.
Yeah.
And then there's this idea of autonomous threat hunting, where AI actually takes on a more proactive role.
So instead of just reacting to attacks, it's like actively looking for them.
Right, exactly. It's like having that AI detective just constantly searching your systems, looking for any little sign of trouble.
Uh-huh.
And the amazing part is, AI can do this 24/7 without getting tired or making those human mistakes.
Right. Okay, so it sounds like AI is about to take an even bigger leap forward. I mean, this is all just so fascinating, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface here.
We really have, yeah. Yeah, it really is incredible how AI is shifting cybersecurity, from just reacting to actually being proactive.
Yeah.
It's like going from playing defense to, offense.
That's a great way to put it. So now we've got these like super powered AI detectives on the case, but doesn't that also mean that, the bad guys are upping their game too? It feels like it's just this constant like arms race.
It is, absolutely. As AI gets more and more sophisticated, attackers are,
Yeah.
they're finding new ways to get around things, new vulnerabilities, and try to stay one step ahead.
So, I mean, how do we even keep up? It sounds like a pretty daunting task.
Well, the good news is,
Mhm.
I think the cybersecurity world is getting a lot better at sharing information and working together.
Mhm.
So it's almost like this, global network of intelligence where everyone's kind of pooling what they know and their resources so they can stay ahead of the curve.
And AI can play a big role in that too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Some of the articles you sent talk about how AI can be used to, analyze threat data from all over the world. It's like having this giant AI brain
Wow.
that can, connect the dots and see trends.
Uh,
And even maybe predict attacks before they happen.
so it's not just about responding, it's about like getting ahead of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more data we can, put into these systems, the better they get at finding those little signs, the things that we might miss.
But that also kind of brings up another point, right? If we're talking about collecting all this data,
Yeah,
we have to be super careful about privacy.
absolutely.
Mm.
That's a huge theme in a lot of these articles.
Yeah.
It's like this balancing act.
Uh-huh.
We need data to train these systems and make them better.
Right.
But we also have to protect people's privacy
Right.
and make sure the information's being used, the right way.
So it's not just about security, it's about like the ethics of it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation that we need to be having, like, as a society.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about, the technical stuff, the data, the ethical part.
Yeah.
But what about like the people on the front lines?
Yeah.
The ones who are actually using this tech every day?
That's a great question.
Hmm.
And it kind of leads to this idea that some of your sources bring up, the augmented security analyst.
Okay, that's intriguing. What does that even mean?
So it means that AI isn't like replacing those security professionals,
Okay.
but it's more like giving them these amazing tools
Mm-hmm.
to help them do their jobs better.
So instead of, spending all their time looking through logs and alerts, they can focus on like the bigger picture.
Exactly. AI can take care of a lot of those routine things.
Yeah.
The things that take up so much time.
Yeah.
And that frees up the analysts to focus on, hunting for threats, responding to incidents, and thinking about new strategies.
So it's about like working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. And I think it can also make those jobs, more interesting and engaging.
Right.
And it might even help with like that skills gap that we see in cybersecurity.
Because, yeah, there just aren't enough people to meet the demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if we can use AI to automate some stuff,
Yeah.
and help people do more, we can, use the talent we have better.
Right.
And maybe even get more people interested in this field.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about like empowering the people who are using it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about that partnership between humans and AI,
Uh-huh.
where both sides, bring what they're good at to the table.
Okay, so we've talked about, a lot in this deep dive, from how it all works to, the human side of things.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to our listener for a second.
Okay.
What does this mean for someone who's, maybe not a cybersecurity expert?
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways here?
I think the biggest one is just that AI is already changing how we protect ourselves online.
Uh-huh.
And that's only going to, get bigger in the future.
So it's not just something for like tech people to worry about.
No, not at all. It affects, all of us.
Yeah.
Whether you're running a business or shopping or just, connecting with friends and family online.
Right.
AI is becoming a bigger part of how we stay safe.
So even if we don't see it, it's working behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's right. And that means that it's even more important to, be aware of the risks, the benefits, and what you can do to protect yourself.
Okay.
Even if you're not, a tech expert, you can still understand this stuff and make informed choices about your own security.
So being informed is key. But I mean, how do we even stay ahead in a field that's changing so fast?
I think the biggest thing is just stay curious, ask questions. Don't be afraid to dig in and learn more about how AI is shaping things.
Yeah.
The more you understand, the better you'll be able to navigate this whole digital world safely.
That's great advice. And, one thing that really struck me as we were going through all this is that it's not just about reacting to threats anymore.
Yeah.
It's also about like anticipating them, maybe even stopping them before they happen.
That's a really key point. And it's something we're just kind of starting to explore.
Uh-huh.
Think about all the data that's out there.
Right.
All those little signs that could point to, a future attack.
Right.
If we can use AI to put those pieces together, see the patterns, and find those threats before they happen, it could really change everything.
It's like we're shifting from like always being on the defense to, actually going on the offense. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a really exciting possibility.
Yeah.
But it also comes with challenges.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make sure these AI systems are accurate?
Right.
How do we avoid those false alarms?
Right. Right.
Those are questions we're still, trying to figure out.
And there's always the chance of like unintended consequences.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. Any new technology, especially something as powerful as AI, there's always a risk that things might not go as planned.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to to be thoughtful about how we use it, to think about the ethics, and really understand both the good and the bad that could come from it.
So it's not just about building the tech, it's about using it responsibly.
Exactly. And that's where, that human element comes in again.
Yeah.
We need people who understand not just the technical stuff, but also, the ethics, the laws, and how it all affects society.
It sounds like a pretty demanding job.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's also, incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're talking about protecting people,
Yeah.
their data, their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mission worth fighting for.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about how it works, the human side, the ethics, and even, what the future might hold.
Yeah.
But I still feel like we've only just scratched the surface here.
We have.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about this field. It's always changing, always pushing the limits. And as AI keeps getting better, we can expect even more, exciting things to come in the years ahead.
Wow. It's really amazing to think about how much we've talked about, in this deep dive. It feels like we've gone from, like, the nuts and bolts of how AI works all the way to, thinking about the future of cybersecurity.
It is, and what a future it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, the speed of how things are changing in this field is really something.
It is. But, with all this talk about AI, all this, cutting edge tech,
Yeah.
I think it's easy to forget that at the end of the day, cybersecurity is really about people.
It is. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about, protecting people, their data, their lives.
Yeah.
It's about making, the online world a place where everyone can feel safe and secure.
And that kind of brings us to, I think, one of the most interesting things that came up in all those articles you sent.
Yeah.
This idea that, the future isn't about AI replacing humans. It's about, us working together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking the best of both, and creating this really strong defense against all these cyber threats.
Mm-hmm.
So AI can do, the heavy lifting, like the analysis, the pattern recognition.
Yeah.
But it's humans that bring, the context, the critical thinking, and the ethics to it all.
That's like AI is, this force multiplier. Like
Yeah.
it helps security professionals do even more.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And this whole idea of partnership, it makes you wonder about, what security jobs are going to look like.
Yeah, like what skills are we going to need in this new world of AI-driven cybersecurity?
Exactly. And how do we even train people,
Yeah.
To work alongside these super powerful AI systems?
Yeah, those are big questions, and I don't think there are easy answers.
No, there aren't. But
Yeah.
they're questions we need to be thinking about now.
Yeah.
Because things are changing so quickly.
It's like we're at this turning point,
We are.
Like cybersecurity is about to change in a big way, and we need to be ready.
We do.
Yeah.
The more we can, see these changes coming and adapt to them,
Yeah.
the better off we'll be in this,
Yeah.
exciting but kind of complicated future.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listener to walk away with?
I think the most important thing is that, AI it's a powerful tool, but it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to, magically solve all our problems overnight.
It's not like set it and forget it.
Right. It needs planning, careful implementation,
Yeah.
and someone watching over it,
Uh-huh.
And we have to use it the right way, ethically,
Yeah.
with people and their privacy in mind.
So it's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
between using the power of AI and making sure it's used for good.
Exactly. And that's where, human judgment, human creativity, and just our empathy are always going to be important.
This has been such an amazing journey. I feel like, we've learned so much about AI.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think we've seen how it can be used to make, a better and safer world for everyone online.
And that's what makes this whole field so exciting.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech, it's about people, and it's about, using what we know to build a better future.
That's a great way to put it. So to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Yep.
And remember, the future of cybersecurity is being shaped right now.
It is. Yeah.
And it's up to all of us to make sure it's a future we can all be proud of.
That's well said. Thanks for, joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, stay safe online.